Okay, hi guys, it's Elise. I think I need to introduce myself again because I did introduce myself in the last video, but I don't know which one's going to go first. So my name is Elise Bourne. I am a student at the University of Utah. I am studying in the Department of Health, Kinesiology, and Recreation, and I'm in my master's degree programs. I've graduated in my undergraduate, graduated from college. This is like my next degree. So part of the grant that funds me being at school allows me to come talk to you guys normally in class. I did last semester, I came to Hillcrest, but because of all of the stuff that's going on right now, I am not able to come to class. So here we are on a Zoom meeting that I am recording. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you, and then we're going to go over a little PowerPoint together. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, awesome. Here we are sharing the screen, and I'm going to get my little pointer out. Oh, maybe I don't have it. Mouse. Okay. Oh, nope. Darn. Okay, we don't have a pointer. That's okay. Okay, so we're going to go into presentation mode here. Okay, awesome. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about common communicable diseases. Obviously, this is a great time to be talking about this because maybe you're watching this video at another time, but right now it is March 2020, and so we're in the middle of a big pandemic in the United States and all across the world, the coronavirus. So we'll talk about that a little bit today, but we're also going to talk about other types of communicable diseases. I cannot talk as well. Here we go. Okay, if this PowerPoint works. Okay, here we go. So a communicable disease spreads from one living organism to another. So it has to spread from something alive to something else alive. Oftentimes it will be spread to us as humans, or we as humans will spread it, but you can't get a communicable disease from a non-living object, or it doesn't start from a non-living object. Sometimes you can receive a communicable disease if a living organism, like another person, were to like sneeze on a surface and they were sick, and then you were to touch it, right? So that came from another living organism. So it's spread between two living organisms. A pathogen is the microorganism that causes disease, which is commonly called a germ. So an infection is when pathogens start to multiply and then cause disease and damage to the cells inside of your body or inside the body of another living organism. So you might have heard of an incubation period before. One thing I think of when I think of an incubation period is like chickens when they're laying their eggs and the eggs are getting ready to hatch. So an incubation period is the time in which something is taking to prepare to be ready. So growing, it's preparing to grow. So similarly, a pathogen has to take time in a person's body before the symptoms are showing. So the second that you get someone's cough or cold, right, you're not going to show symptoms the second you shake hands with somebody who just blew their nose in their hand and has a cold, right? So it takes time. We're seeing this a lot with the coronavirus, not right now, that people are having it for a good amount of time and then not showing symptoms, and all of a sudden symptoms are coming on, but maybe they were in contact with somebody whose brother or cousin had the coronavirus like a few days ago or a week ago. So it doesn't happen immediately. There are 5 types of pathogens: viruses, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and rickettsias. We're going to learn about all these separately. So a virus is a piece of genetic material that is surrounded by a protein coat. And we've got a picture up here on the right-hand corner of it. And I don't know, it's probably going to keep my face there. So I'll move my face so you can see. Come on. It's not going. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So as per the life of a virus, it cannot reproduce or grow outside of another living cell. So it has to have a host cell to cling onto. So what it does is it invades the cell that it wants to target, and it uses the resources of that cell to multiply. it bursts and destroys the cell and then begins taking over completely. So some common viruses include the common cold, influenza, mononucleosis, AIDS, chickenpox, herpes, and rabies. So the coronavirus right now is also, could be on this list as well. Okay, bacteria. And if for any reason you need to stop, we're going through this relatively quickly because we're not asking questions and doing answers and stuff like we would be normally in class. So just go ahead and pause this whenever you need to if you want to take notes. So bacteria are single-celled organisms that can live almost anywhere on Earth. Something really interesting about bacteria is that they can live in environments that other organisms could never be in. So bacteria live in like the deepest part of the ocean where there's like hardly any light and it's really cold. They live like in the ice in Antarctica. They live at the bottom of all of the hot springs where it's just like incredibly hot. So they're very stable to live anywhere. Most bacteria are harmless, some are good, and some cause disease. So the ones that cause disease produce toxins that kill cells or interfere with your bodily functions. So some common bacterial diseases include strep throat, foodborne illnesses, tuberculosis, meningitis, and bronchitis. These endings, itis, this means inflammation. So anytime you see itis, that means inflammation. So bacterial diseases are often going to cause inflammation to something. So meninges are the parts, they're very thin, like saran wrap like layers that separate the hemispheres of your brain, and then there's one that goes over the top to protect your brain, and there's one that goes between the big part of your brain and your cerebellum back here. So it's inflammation of the sheaths between and around your brain. That's meningitis. So we can just break up that word. Bronchitis, your bronchial tube is your breathing tube, and then all of the little tubules that go out to your lungs. So bronchitis is inflammation of the bronchial tube and bronchioles. So the treatment for bacterial infection is antibiotics. One thing that's good to know, just kidding. One thing that's good to know about antibiotics is that when you take them, if you take a lot of them in a row, your body can become antibiotic resistant, which means that if you were to get another bacterial disease, it could really damage your body, and some people could even die from it because their body took too many antibiotics in the beginning and became resistant to a certain type of medicine that got rid of the bacteria. So something that you can do if you ever are on an antibiotic to make sure that you do not develop an antibiotic resistance is that you want to be taking probiotics, or good bacteria, as are listed here in the left column, along with the antibiotics, because in your body, as we learned, we have good bacteria and bad bacteria. The good bacteria usually live in your stomach. They're all through your intestines, but there's a lot of good bacteria that live in your stomach. So we can do a lot to help our bodies maintain good bacteria so our intestinal tract is happy and functioning well. So yogurt has good bacteria in it. You might have heard of kombucha. It's like a fermented probiotic tea that's really good for your gut health. Pickles, they're fermented, so they have probiotics in them. Kimchi, sauerkraut, if you can think of any other examples of probiotics. But we want to make sure we're doing probiotics with antibiotics so that we don't develop antibiotic bacterial resistance. So some examples of good and bad bacteria. We talked about intestinal bacteria, just barely. That's the second one on the left. Lactobacillus is another kind of good bacteria that helps ferment milk. So we're going to see that in like cottage cheese, sour cream, other milk products that are fermented, butter, yeah. So bad bacteria, we have bacteria like Streptococcus and Campylobacter and E. coli that can cause a lot of different diseases in our body. Okay, fungi are multi-celled plant-like organisms that cause disease of the lungs, mucous membranes, and skin. The fungi get nutrients from plants and animals, but they can't make food on their own, so they need to get food from a different source. Some common fungal diseases include athlete's foot and ringworm. Fungi are part of the fungi kingdom. They can be multicellular or single cellular. They're very closely related to mold. I'm going to move my face so you can see that. And they do really well in warm, damp places. So here on the left, we're seeing a picture of athlete's foot. So athlete's foot usually develops when you are wearing like dirty, sweaty socks or walking on a floor that's had other people's feet after wearing dirty, sweaty socks. So locker rooms are a breeding ground for fungal infections such as athlete's foot. So if you are an athlete or if you work out and have sweaty socks, you should be taking your feet out of your shoes and out of your socks and washing your feet or showering soon after to prevent fungi from developing and getting into warm places like your feet that could be wet as well, because you don't want athlete's foot. It's really itchy and not fun. And then here on the right, we have a picture of a ringworm, which is a ring shape, and it can appear in different parts of your body. Okay. So protozoa are single-celled microorganisms. They're larger and more complex than bacteria. They're usually spread through water or insects. And we can see diseases like malaria, sleeping sickness, and amoebiasis. These are all protozoan diseases. So, for example, malaria is transmitted by the mosquito. You can have fever and chills. Malaria is really common in parts of Africa where there is not good prevention of mosquitoes. So I know there are a lot of causes that provide mosquito nets to places that do not have access to other mosquito repellents, right? So some people have to sleep with a mosquito net so that they're not being consistently attacked by mosquitoes, right? So maybe in the US, like I maybe got bit by a mosquito once or twice last summer, right? But if you're getting bit by mosquitoes multiple times a day, there's going to be a much bigger chance that one of those mosquitoes is carrying a disease like malaria and that you could contract it. So we don't have to be super worried about it in the United States, which is really amazing. Like, you should be very thankful. But if you are getting bit by a lot of mosquitoes and you're experiencing some of these symptoms, it's definitely time to go to the doctor, even though it's unlikely to get malaria in the US. Sleeping sickness is transmitted by the tsetse fly and affects the brain specifically. And then amoebiasis can create abscesses in your intestinal tract, which is not fun. Okay, rickettsias resemble bacteria, but also can often enter the body through insect bites. Usually they develop in embryos or other tissues. And diseases can include typhus, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and Lyme disease. So we know that pathogens are all around us, but some of the most obvious place, or some of them maybe you don't think they're obvious, but it's important to kind of recognize where pathogens can be hanging around a lot. So door handles all the time, countertops, right? Things you're touching consistently. If you drive, like the steering wheel, the door to open your car, right? So especially now, I really encourage you guys to, first of all, be social distancing. It's extremely important. And second of all, to be wiping down your surfaces once or twice a day, even if the same people are coming and going out of your house, or even if it's just the same people staying in your house, it's still a good idea to be wiping down surfaces. We know that the coronavirus can live on hard surfaces for up to 48 hours, so it's really important that we're wiping stuff down, stuff that you're touching frequently especially. So I can't show a video through this, so I'm going to kind of explain to you what this video is about. So in this Mythbusters video, they tested different types of sneezes, and they actually found that when you sneeze like into your hand, even if it's into a tissue, that the particles are going everywhere. And if you're sneezing with nothing covering it, it goes even farther. But if you sneeze like this, they call it the vampire cough or the vampire sneeze in The Office, if you've seen that episode. I think it's like Health Day, or it's not Health Day, but it's an episode of The Office. You can Google it. So they call it the vampire cough. So when you have to cough or sneeze, you want to bring your arm around you like a vampire with its cape, and you want to cough or sneeze into your arm. So this is the least likely to transmit germs all around you. So I really encourage you to be covering your cough and sneeze correctly. You know, a lot of people have seasonal allergies right now, but even then we want to be especially careful since we do have this pandemic going around. So diseases spread a lot of different ways: direct contact, touch, kissing, biting, sexual contact, a puncture wound like a rusty nail, being in contact with an infected animal, but also indirect contact, touching a contaminated object. We just discussed this. And then vectors. So this could be another organism that transmits pathogens to humans or other animals like flies, ticks, or mosquitoes. And then contaminated food, water, or air. Airborne transmission, as we talked about with the sneezing, is when a person sneezes or coughs and the pathogens are released into the air in tiny droplets. So this can go as far as 10 feet. If you want to look up that Mythbusters video, look up Mythbusters sneeze. It's very interesting, and it kind of has a video on all this. So the pathogens can remain in the air floating on dust particles, which means that there could be dust going all around. If someone who's sick coughs or sneezes, it could land on anything: your phone, your computer, right, your car keys. And then if you pick it up and you touch your face, you easily could contract whatever the person sneezed had. So yeah, these dust particles can remain pathogenic for up to 45 minutes. Okay, prevention. Washing your hands is so important. I'm gonna put up a video on how to wash your hands, and you should watch that, and then we'll learn how to wash our hands correctly. Before, during, after preparing food, before eating food, before and after caring for someone who is sick, treating a cut or a wound, after using the bathroom, after changing diapers or cleaning up a baby, after blowing your own nose, coughing or sneezing, after touching an animal, animal feed, animal waste, after handling pet food or pet treats, after touching garbage. And I'm gonna add some more. If you get takeout, especially now, it's important to move that takeout food into one of your own containers and then wash your hand, throw everything away from the containers, wash your hands before you eat. We want to wash or sanitize before and after we're driving. If we're in contact with any family members that are like not in your immediate house, right? Like you shouldn't be seeing anyone, but if you are, people who aren't in your immediate house, making sure we're staying 6 feet away from them as well, people who aren't in our house. Let's see, what else? This is a pretty comprehensive list, but yeah, just be smart. If you think you need to wash your hands, you probably do. Okay, we also can wear clean clothes and we can keep our immune system healthy. So that is a huge thing right now. We need to be trying to eat foods that are really helping our body fight anything bad coming in and keep up immunity. We want to be getting enough sleep. Guys, this is your opportunity right now to kind of re-regulate your school schedule, your sleep schedule. I know that in high school, it's pretty crazy. It's hard to get sleep. So while it's very tempting for all of us, myself included, to stay up late watching Netflix, I encourage you to please try to sleep, because when you get to college soon, you won't have that luxury. So take advantage of it now. And reducing stress. Take time while you're at home to maybe like do a craft or learn a new activity or project, just something to take your mind off school, to help keep your stress levels down, because stress really does contribute to sickness. And stay away from sick people, please. And if you're sick, stay home. Okay. This is just we're gonna skip this. Okay. And most common communicable diseases: the cold, the flu, hepatitis, and mononucleosis. So the common cold is the most common communicable disease and can be caused by any of 200 viruses. These are some of the symptoms that we're going to see, and probably you've all had a cold, so you've experienced one or more of these symptoms during. The treatment, there's no like vaccine or cure for the common cold, so we just want to rest and we want to stay home, make sure that we're not contagious anymore. We want to eat really well and drink a lot of liquids. The influenza, so any type of flu, is going to show these symptoms below. Oops, we went too far, okay? And there are some vaccines for some strains of influenza. Something interesting is that the flu vaccine actually changes every year that we get because doctors predict what the type of flu is going to be, and they put their best guess of preventative measures into a vaccine. So that's why it's really important to get your flu shots. Treatment, again, we want to get lots of rest. We want to be eating well. Okay, hepatitis is a viral disease of the liver. It's caused by a yellowing of the skin and whites of the eyes, also called jaundice, flu-like symptoms, and swelling of the liver. So for hepatitis A, there is no treatment. The contagious period is unknown, but the vaccine is completely effective. So usually people get a hepatitis A vaccine when they're like 12 or 13. Hepatitis B is treatable. The contagious period varies, but the vaccine is not completely effective. Okay, mononucleosis, also known as the kissing disease, and mono is a viral disease that can be spread by kissing and casual contact. So that could also include like using someone's serving utensils or drinking out of their water bottle, okay? Swollen lymph nodes in the neck and the throat are some common symptoms: sore throat, fever, tiredness, and you can stay contagious for up to a year, so you really don't want to get mono. The treatment is just a lot of rest. There's not really anything else that can be done. So some more common communicable diseases are on this list, and the reason that they're not, more communicable. The reason that they're not as common anymore is that vaccines have been developed for all of these. So vaccines have wiped out these diseases completely. Okay, and this is just some information. This slide shows that in 2019, we had very few measles cases because we have a really good vaccine for measles that most babies get. So yeah, this is the vaccine effectiveness is 97% effective after the second dose, which is awesome. Okay, yeah, this is just another slide showing when, measles outbreak started when it was really bad in the beginning of the 90s. This was the amount of cases we saw. And then after the vaccination was doing well, we have just very few cases now. Okay, and that is the end of the presentation, guys. I hope that you learned something and that it was somewhat enjoyable for you. I am going to post a video. I'm going to do 2 videos with this. So we're going to do a hand washing video next, so stay tuned. Okay, have a great day.